All right, so welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something that's, I think, pretty relevant to a lot of us.
Yeah.
Um, and it's something that I've personally been thinking about a lot lately. And it has to do with the power of symbols, especially when you kind of think about the intersection of politics and social media.
Oh, yeah.
Um, we've got this really interesting article from CBS News,
hmm
um, and it's about this elected official from Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
Her name's Laura Smith. And she ended up resigning.
Oh, wow.
But the reason why is really interesting. She made a gesture, yeah, and it was similar to one that Elon Musk has used before,
Oh, okay.
which, of course, sparked a lot of controversy.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Can a gesture really lead to the downfall of a political career?
I mean, I think
Let's find out.
it's interesting because it makes you think about, like, what's going on here? Like,
Yeah.
how did we even get to this point?
Right.
Yeah.
So this story with Laura Smith, it's kind of a head scratcher. She makes this gesture,
Right.
and suddenly, boom, she's resigning.
Wow.
What do you make of all this?
Well, it's not quite as simple as just a gesture. I think this whole situation really speaks to a much bigger issue that we're kind of grappling with right now.
Yeah.
Which is how online platforms, social media,
Yeah.
how they can just totally magnify the impact of symbols and gestures.
Oh, yeah.
It's like symbols have become almost like this new language online. And it's so full of nuance
Right.
and potential for misunderstanding.
That's a good point. I mean, has this ever happened to you?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever been worried about how something you did online
Oh, all the time.
might be interpreted by someone else?
Yeah, definitely. All the time.
It's a scary thought, right?
It is. It's kind of unsettling.
Yeah.
When you think about it,
Yeah.
One of the big challenges is this idea of what we call context collapse.
Context collapse.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of that?
I'm not sure. Tell me more.
Yeah. So basically, it's how online platforms kind of blur the lines between your personal life and your public life.
That makes sense.
Right. So like something you might post to your close friends could be seen by, your boss, your grandma,
Oh,
your future employer.
right.
And everybody's bringing their own interpretations and baggage to it,
Yeah, right.
So it's a minefield out there, especially when you start throwing symbols into the mix.
Especially with symbols.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you think about this case with Laura Smith, and the article doesn't even say what she meant by the gesture.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Like, was she trying to make a political statement?
Mhm.
Or was it just like an accident?
Mhm.
Unintentional. The
Well,
whole thing feels like a mystery.
Well, and that lack of clarity, I think, is a big part of the problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're just so quick to jump to conclusions about what these symbols mean,
Yeah.
often without even knowing, like you said, the person's intent.
Their intention behind it.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of what happened with Cuppy the Frog. Oh, right.
Remember that.
I do. That was a whole thing.
Which is this harmless meme.
Right.
And then, suddenly, it became this symbol of the alt-right.
Oh, yeah.
Completely changing its meaning and its impact.
Yeah, like the meaning was just like hijacked.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And then there's the okay hand gesture, too.
Oh, yeah, that's another one.
Right. Depending on who's using it.
Mm.
And the context, It could be totally innocent. Or it could be like a hate symbol.
Yeah, that's wild.
It is. It just shows how easily things can get twisted around.
It's kind of unsettling, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
When you realize how something so seemingly innocent can suddenly become so loaded.
Right, yeah. And, for someone like Laura Smith, who's in the public eye,
Right.
the stakes are just so much higher.
Yeah.
One gesture, caught on camera, shared online, it can just spiral out of control.
Yeah, it's like a snowball effect.
Exactly. And, it's not to say that we have to be terrified all the time.
Yeah.
Ones like walk on eggshells.
But it does highlight how important it is to be mindful, about the symbols that we're using.
About what we're putting out there.
Yeah, and try to understand,
Yeah.
the potential ways they could be interpreted. And the power of context.
Context is everything.
It really is.
So I guess the big question is, where do we go from here? If everything we do online can be scrutinized
Yeah.
and potentially misinterpreted, how do we navigate this whole, complex landscape?
Yeah, it's a tough question, and there's not really an easy answer. But I think this whole story with Laura Smith can serve as a good reminder for all of us.
A wake-up call, kind of.
Yeah, wake-up call.
Yeah.
To think critically about the
Yeah.
symbols that we're seeing online.
Not just taking them at face value.
Yeah, exactly. Don't just accept them at face value, Ask questions, Think about the source, try to understand the context.
Okay.
And then when it comes to our own actions, let's try to be mindful of the messages that we might be sending out.
Even if it's unintentional.
Yeah, even unintentionally. Because, in this digital age, our online presence is becoming more and more like our public face.
Yeah, it's true. It's almost like our online self is more real than our real self these days.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Crazy to think about. So I guess that leaves us all with a lot to think about, right?
It does, yeah.
In a world where every click, every share can be like amplified,
Yeah.
analyzed. What responsibility do we have for the symbols and the gestures that we're putting out there? It's definitely something to ponder for sure.
For sure.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time.